Now then, how are you doing? Recently I've seen a couple of very good Elvis Camden LP videos on YouTube, and if you haven't seen them, I'll leave the links in the description below. But I just recently got some Camden Japan LPs, so I thought it would be a good time to do a video on Elvis's Japanese Camden LPs, because there are quite a few differences between the Japanese versions and the UK and the US releases. Now, I don't know too much about the releases in other European countries, but I do have a couple of albums that appear to be budget albums from Europe. So this one here, first of all, is a Spanish version of Almost in Love. And it's on this green label, which looks very similar to the RCA International label, on which many of the Camden albums came out initially in the UK. Now it says Linea 3, I think that's what it says on the label, which apparently means line 3. But I don't know much about the series or what line 3 has to do with anything. So if you know anything about this series, please let me know. And a very similar series, this one is Italian, a Christmas album. And this is the Camden Christmas album, plus it also has a couple of the gospel tracks which appeared on the first Christmas album. So it's got 12 tracks, not 10 like the Camden album. This one also has that green label with the same series. And another one I have, I'm not sure if this was a budget album, but all the tracks on it are associated with budget albums. This is a New Zealand LP, it's just called Elvis. And it's actually got 19 songs on there, which is pretty good. So it's got songs from Come On Everybody, Flaming Star, Almost in Love, and so on. And it's also got a nice picture in the gatefold there. And I did a video recently where I showed what happened to many of the labels and covers when they were imported into Japan a long time ago. And this record also suffered a similar fate. You can see the black line on the label there. That's covering the Victor logo. So the first, what you might call budget LP release in Japan was, as the same as in other countries, was Flaming Star. However, like in America, here it was released on the RCA label. It was the orange label, not that kind of mustard coloured colour that the American version had. And it was packaged in the same way as other Elvis LPs at the time, with an RCA OB, and it was full price as well. And the next one to come out was Let's Be Friends. Now this one appeared on the Camden label in America and the RCA International label in the UK, but they made the decision to keep this album on RCA in Japan. That's the front cover and the back. And it was actually sold at the same price as any other album. Price on the OB reads 1,800 yen, which was the same price as Love Letters, which came out about the same time. So on the inside there you have a gatefold cover with the English lyrics. In another video I did fairly recently, I talked about this special offer which is mentioned on the OB, and I talked about this coupon on the inside of the OB, which if you sent away to the record company you would receive a free booklet. Now, after I did that video, I decided to try and find that booklet, and I did actually find a copy of it, and I'm going to show it to you later in this video. Here's the record, orange RCA label. Now, at exactly the same time, they also released Almost in Love. Same idea, same price, gatefold cover, and this also has the coupon offering that free booklet. And this too is on the RCA label. Also released at exactly the same time was this album here, You'll Never Walk Alone. And this one too has gatefold sleeve. This one is not as nice as the other two. And it too is on orange RCA label. Later in 1971 came I Got Lucky and Come On Everybody. And these two were also packaged in gatefold covers. Lyrics inside. And also on the RCA orange logo. So by the end of 1971, well, during 1971, there were 5 RCA albums, what we would call Camden albums, released on the RCA label. All 5 came out in Japan in the same year. Just like that, gatefold sleeve, Obi's, full price. Now, when the next one came out, Elvis Sings Hits from His Movies, I'm not sure whether it's because the record company had changed. So the record company had been Victor Company of Japan, and it changed to Victor Musical Industries. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But what happened was they decided to release this album at a budget price. So this was the first one that was released at a very, very cheap price. So you might be able to see at the top of the obi there, the price is 1,100 yen. Remember, on the other ones it was 1,800. So this is actually nearly half price a regular album. And the cover is actually, it's just a single pocket sleeve, there's no gatefold. And it's a very thin sleeve. It's actually more like a 1960s LP cover. And in fact it has the cutaways on the outside here. I'm sorry, the foldovers at the top here. However, this cover is not laminated. It's not bad, but it's clearly a much cheaper cover than the other ones. So I think what happened is somebody at the record company must have said, you know, this is just a collection of old movie songs. We can't possibly release this as a full price album. And so what they did was they took the opportunity to release a series. It's called the RCA Popular 1100 series. And on the back of the OB is actually a list of other albums in the same series. None of them are Elvis albums. This is the only Elvis one. So for the first time, you can see a Japanese album is actually on the RCA Camden turquoise label. And then there were just 2 more, basically. There was the, what's the other one? Burning Love. Yeah, Burning Love and this one, Separate Ways. These were released at the same time together. Now, by this point, they decided to go back to stiff card covers. This is a nice solid cover. But the price was still 1,100 yen. It was still a budget album. Lyrics on the back here. For some reason, the Japanese copy of Separate Ways has this red strip across the cover. I'm not sure why that is. This one is also on Camden, RCA Camden, and Burning Love was the same. So basically there were only really 3 Camden releases in Japan because all the other ones were on RCA. However, in 1978, all the Camden albums were re-released in this series, all except one, in this Forever Elvis series. You'll Never Walk Alone. No gatefold sleeves anymore. And they were all on Camden, but they had this nice picture label, which if you look closer you can see it says RCA Camden. So albums like Flaming Star, Almost in Love, Let's Be Friends were being released for the first time on the Camden label in 1978. Now you might be wondering about the Christmas album. So the Camden Christmas album, Elvis's biggest selling album of all time, was actually never released as a Camden album. It has been released, the 10-track Christmas album, the second version, but it's always been on the RCA label, not on Camden. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just turn around and show you that booklet which I mentioned before. Okay, this is a Japanese Charo movie poster. I'm showing you that here for a very good reason. I'll come back to that in a moment. Okay, here it is. This is the book that you got if you sent away that little coupon on the back side of the obi back in 1971. It's a little bit smaller than a 7-inch single. So if we just go to the back first of all. And down here it says it was published in April 1971, and it's published by the Victor Company of Japan. And over here on the right side it gives you an upcoming release date for the next single, which is Where Did They Go To? Rags to Riches. Where Did They Go, Lord? And Rags to Riches. Okay, so if we just go back to the front page. You get some photos and the index here. And then the first thing it has is it's a biography. So there's nothing particularly revelatory in the biography. It's all information that we've read many times before. But the last part is quite poignant because I can just get there. In the last part here, it's talking about Elvis's first 2 seasons at the International Hotel in Las Vegas, and it says that his contract runs until 1979, and it was quite strange reading that for the first time because this was obviously written at a time when Elvis was still alive, and the idea of Elvis still being alive in 1979 was probably just something that everybody assumed, but of course tragically he never made it till 1979. The second part of the book here is a chronology. Again, this is all fairly well-known stuff, starting with his birth and going right through until here, which is 1971, talking about the filming for That's the Way It Is. And then it has 2 full song lists. The first one is in what you might call Japanese alphabetical order. So this character here reads A. So all these songs here begin with the sound A. And then it goes on to the songs beginning with I. And then the songs beginning U, etc. So all the English titles have Japanese versions as well. Most of them are actually just the same title in Japanese pronunciation, but some of them have translations into Japanese. So if I give you an example here, songs beginning with the sound ki, the first one is Kiss Me Quick, which in Japanese title is Kiss Me Quick. But if we go to, let's have a look, one with a translation. Without Him up here, and it has a Japanese title, Kami ga nakereba. So that basically translates as if God didn't exist. So that's a Japanese index. And then the second index here is a full Elvis song list in alphabetical order, A, B, C, etc. So we can skip through this. Obviously those songs, those lists only go up to 1971. Then the next one is a list of Elvis's movies, starting with Love Me Tender. It gives you the release date, Japanese title, director, and so on. And if we go up to Elvis's 23rd movie, Double Trouble, which is here, you can see it says Double Trouble, and then there's some Japanese characters to the side of that. That tells you that Double Trouble was not shown in Japan. And on the right side here, number 27, Stay Away Joe, this was also not shown in Japan. And his last 3 scripted movies here, Charo, Trouble with Girls, and Change of Habit. Also, according to this book, they were not shown in Japan. However, I just showed you the poster for the Charo movie, so this one, Charo, was actually shown in Japan. And the last one is actually That's the Way It Is, because Elvis hadn't recorded Elvis on tour, of course, at that point. Then we get into the records, and what's very surprising for me is how many songs, how many singles are on this single list. Now, they're not all there, but I have to assume that all these songs were available in 1970. All these singles were available in 1971 in orange label pressings. Now, some of them I have seen in orange label pressings, but most of them I haven't. So, for example, this one here is SS1006. This is Love Me Tender, Any Way You Want Me. So this one is not so difficult to find on an orange label pressing. One interesting single here is down here, SS1108. This is King Creole, and the B-side of King Creole was Leather Doll. Now, in Japanese, they have no L sound, and they also have no V sound. So they have to change the L to an R, and they have to change the V to a B. So Leather Doll comes out as Raba Doru in Japanese. So it sounds like Rubber Doll. Imagine if Elvis had sang a song called Rubber Doll. Okay, on the right side, it's albums, and the way they've organized this section is into types of album. So, for example, the first one is got golden records, 1 to 4, and then you've got 3 Japanese compilations over here. All of the photos, by the way, have RCA logos, so it's showing you that these are the latest pressings on the orange label. On this side, it's Worldwide Gold Award Hits Volume 1, and then the next section is Elvis on Stage, so the live albums, up to That's the Way It Is. And then the next one, it's got Elvis in Person, so this is actually the studio albums. So from Something for Everybody to Potluck, Elvis is Back. The one here without a picture is Elvis for Everyone, and there's actually no Japanese catalogue number here, so I think that means that Elvis for Everyone was deleted. Flaming Star, From Elvis in Memphis, Vegas to Memphis, Memphis to Vegas, and then Elvis Country. The blank one at the bottom is for Let's Be Friends. It says Coming Soon, and it gives a release date of July the 5th, and the same with Almost in Love. They were released at the same time, as I said before. Next section is Screen Album. So these are all these soundtrack albums. Again, these have all got RCA logos on them, not Victor. So these are all the latest pressings. And there's a blank one here, that's for Roustabout. Again, it just gives you the American catalogue number. So I have to assume that Roustabout was deleted. And in fact, I've never seen it on an orange label pressing. Still continuing here with the soundtracks right through until Speedway. This one here is interesting, Harem Scarum, because in the Japanese Elvis discography, which is this book here, which I've shown some pictures from in the past, the Japanese Elvis discography does not have a picture of this book, of this album, Harem Scarum, on orange label. So this is probably a very rare album. In fact, I've never seen it on orange label. And then we go down to rock, Elvis rock section. LP Fans Only, the first album, the second album, and this one you might not recognize. This is actually A Date with Elvis. I've got a copy of that, so I'll show you that at some point. And then the last section here, Elvis's Sacred Album, or it says Secret Album. You've got the Christmas album, and this is a Japanese compilation called Golden Hymn, featuring How Great Thou Art and His Hand in Mine. Then this one here is You'll Never Walk Alone. Once again, it says release date July the 5th. And then Elvis's Christmas album here, it says unreleased. There would be a Christmas album not long after this book was published. And it had a picture of Elvis from the Trouble with Girls movie on the front cover. And the last thing here at the bottom where it says Compact Elvis or Compact Elvis. This is giving you details of 2 EPs, which were available at the time. So there you go. This is the book that you got if you sent away the coupon on the Obi all those years ago. Okay, so I think that just about wraps it up for this video. Thanks for watching. Take care.